Hi, this is Emma from Arise, and I'm here to tell you about and to welcome you to our new podcast at Arise Home Education. This is going to be a place where home educators can be encouraged, where you can be informed of great resources, where we hope to give you practical ideas and tips and advice for every stage of your home ed journey. We're going to be having guests. We're going to have in the next coming weeks. We'll be featuring our tutors at Arise Home Education. We'll also be having other guests who will come along and speak to you about areas that they are passionate about or where they have a particular expertise. In the next couple of weeks, look out for a podcast where I interview Claire Rogerson. Many of you will be familiar with Claire if you live in the Central Belt. She's a well-known figure in the home ed community. She is absolutely lovely. She is a great encourager, a great networker. She loves bringing home educators together and creating that space for community. She's going to be talking about creative ways to home educate when you have young children. And that's she's just lovely. I think you'll all love Claire. We will also be discussing more spiritual aspects of home education. Coming up, I'm going to be doing a podcast on prayer as a home educator and both the creative ways to facilitate prayer as a home ed mum, because we know that can be really difficult when you're surrounded by young children. And we're also going to be discussing some of the more political and topical points that are affecting home educators and Christians in the UK and in Scotland. So I hope this will be a blessing to you. If you really want to see anything featured in this podcast, please put that in the comments and please subscribe. Thank you. Hi everyone, it's Emma from Arise, and I'm here today to give some tips and ideas about how to home educate on a tight budget. This is for whether you are just starting out or if you have been on the road for a very long time and you are now looking at planning and are just looking for some ideas or inspiration, because let's face it, we all know that the cost of living in the UK has skyrocketed in the last 12 months. I think every single conversation I have with other home educators at the minute revolves around just how much we are spending on everyday things like food and electricity and how little we have to spend on school for the next coming year. So I think this is just a really timely piece, and I hope it will really inspire you and help you moving forward. So I'm going to just go through subject by subject to give ideas and pointers about where to go, and then I'll round up with a general idea of some little tips to help you with the planning of the year ahead. So let's start off with maths, because it's such a key foundational piece. So with maths, I have used, especially with my younger kids, I found years ago, another home educating family pointed me in the direction of something called the Maths Enhancement Programme. MEP. Now, this has been put together by Plymouth University, and they've done research into mathematical education, and they've created this curriculum that goes from it's English based, so the it's not P1, P2, it's year 1, year 2, reception year, which I believe is same as primary 1. And then high school, so they've got some resources for GCSE, I think even A levels. I might be wrong about A levels, but definitely GCSEs, they've got some resources there for that too. This program has been used in schools in Hungary, and if you've ever seen where Hungary lies on the maths league tables internationally, they do really quite well. So this is on their website. If you Google Maths Enhancement Program, or there'll be a blog post with golden arrows that you'll be able to link to in the description. That'll point that you'll be able to find this program. It has lesson plans, it has printable resources, it has everything you need. They recommend the using of manipulatives a lot, but they don't want you to go out and buy expensive manipulatives that cost an absolute fortune, because they do cost a fortune. They really want you to use things that are around you every day. So we've used shells, we've used pebbles, we've used stones, we've used sticks. We've just used everything that we can locate to help us with this. It's really great program, and just switch it up, because obviously it's been designed for the classroom, so they'll have little classroom activities and you can just improvise them to work in home. Another great place to go is what's called Nrich, N-R-I-C-H, and this is a website that has been put together by Cambridge University, and it's got lots of fun maths activities, again, right through the different grade levels, and it really works to encourage mathematical thinking. Edinburgh University has something called the Math Circle, and some of you may have heard of that, and it used to be monthly. I don't think since COVID it's back to being monthly, and it's basically a Saturday afternoon kind of maths gathering for kids to go to, families to go to, and they have activities for kids right through from little ones through to high school ones to encourage mathematical thinking. They use the Nrich material for this program that the Edinburgh University use. So Nrich is a great place to go. You can enhance your maths education by using software like GeoGebra, Desmos, and PhET. I'm going to mention PhET again later. PhET is educational software put together by the University of Colorado. It's fantastic. They do maths, they do all the sciences, they do environmental science, and I think so. That's all I've covered. They do all the sciences, and they are simulations to help teach different principles. So in mathematics, they'll have like simulations to help a child understand what fractions are, what equivalent fractions are, and so it's very visual, and you play around with these simulations so you can see how the maths is working. And the same goes with the different science simulations that you can use. This is high quality software. If you register with them, which is free to do, you can then access their library of lesson plans. And so you can pick a lesson plan and you go through it, and they're really, really high quality, the material there. Myself, I've done an A-level maths curriculum, which is on my personal YouTube account called Golden Arrows, which uses the Cambridge curriculum, and it's a full A-level, which you can get for free there. Excuse me. English. When my oldest daughter learned to read, we used a resource called Starfall. It is American. They have a paid version, but the free one is absolutely fantastic. It taught her to read. At the bottom of the Starfall page, there's a little, it's kind of hidden, but it's a little thing that you can print off printables, and you can little worksheets to help them learn how to form their letters and stuff. And it's free. It's absolutely brilliant. I think the Charlotte Method philosophy of education, so it's not a curriculum, it's a philosophy of education, is fantastic to access high quality education without paying an absolute fortune. There are people that have put together boxed Charlotte Mason based curriculum that you would pay for, and if you want, and they're great, the books are great, the resources are absolutely fantastic, it's high quality, but you don't need to spend hundreds and hundreds of pounds to put together a Charlotte Mason curriculum. There are websites like Ambleside Online and Charlotte Mason Helps, where you've got little book lists. There are kind of not lesson plans, planners of how to kind of loosely plan for the year, and how to put that together. The books you can buy secondhand on Amazon or eBay or other online shops that do secondhand books. Or if you have a Kindle, you can download a lot of these books for free. It allows you to access really good quality literature at a small price. And once you've bought the books, if you buy a book for like £2 on Amazon for including the postage for that you're going to use this year, you'll be able to use it again. You'll be able to keep it. It's and so there's books we've bought and I bought and use with my daughter, and I'm now reusing them again with younger children. And so, and the other thing with buying these books, so if you were to go on to, I personally prefer Charlotte Mason Helps, and look at the year that you want to go through, and you see this big long, say there's 20 books that you want to buy. You're not going to go on the 20th of August or whenever you're going to start school up and read all 20 books. You don't need to buy every single book that you're going to be doing throughout this entire year today or next week or even this month. You can spread the cost out of these types of items that you're going to be using. You're not going to use that like a lit study book that you might do, or read aloud book. You're not going to be using it for the entire year. It's going to be used, you're going to read it and then you're going to move on to the next one. So you can spread the cost by buying things as you need them and only buying the things now that you're going to need August or September when you start off. Other thing to do is create a list of the books that you're going to use in your homeschool this year, and go to your local library online catalogue and search what books you're going to be using and see what are available at your library and put an order in for them, and set a reminder on your phone. Say, for example, you're going to do some Christmas read alouds, they're going to be Christmas themed. Set a reminder for mid-November on your phone to contact the library to book or order those books, because you see that they're in the library catalogue have them. Set a reminder for mid-November so that it pings up on your phone and you can then go and grab those books from the library before everybody else goes and buys or takes out the Christmas books. A lovely thing we do with our kids is poetry tea time. I think this is an idea that was first put out by Brave Writer. I think a number of you have heard of Brave Writer. And it kind of, I've not noticed it so much online now, but when her curriculum first came out, lots of people were using it and lots of people were doing poetry tea times. And it's just lovely where you read a poem or a section of poems once a week, and you have a little tea party with your kids. And so it's all about enjoying the enrichment of enjoying poetry, giving your child a love of poetry by making this special event. From a Charlotte Mason perspective, I'd read years ago about studying. I know Ambleside Online and the Charlotte Mason Helps people also do. They will study a same poet for a term or for a prolonged period, and you'll just read those people's poetry over and over, different poems from that person, so you get used to their style. So you can pick up from the library a book of, say, Alfred Lord Tennyson's poems, and you can use them in poetry tea time. So again, it's a lovely, simple idea. It doesn't cost a massive amount of money. You're studying poetry together or enriching your life with poetry. If you're doing a poetry tea time, that can be a time during the week where you're doing baking together with your children. So you're doing these different activities which are wonderful and beautiful, enriching, which your kids will remember, but they don't need to cost an absolute fortune. History so English falls very naturally into history, where again with places like Ambleside Online and Charlotte Mason Helps, they've got lists of books that you can study, living books, historical fiction books, but also good quality, just history books that you can study at a time period. So with both Charlotte Mason and also the classical approach, you would study a time period. So say you were doing ancient history this year, you would collect some ancient history books. You would maybe collect historical fiction that set in that time period, and just fill your year with that time period. And again, your local library is a great resource for those books in that time period. Now, although this is about home educating on a tight budget, there are times when spending a larger amount of money will pay off in the long term. So having something like Historic Scotland membership or English Heritage membership if you're down south, or National Trust membership, it's a one-off big payment, but it gives you access to lots of places that are of educational value where you can have field trips. And if you use it frequently enough, you very, very quickly make back your money, especially with free events. So with sort of Scotland membership, which is the one we've currently got, we went to a big jousting event this summer, and it would have cost us a fortune to go as a family, but we had it with our Historic Scotland membership. And we've been to castles and other places this year with our membership, and so we've made back the money. We've went on good quality trips that have high educational value. I remember one year we were doing Mary Queen of Scots, and so I planned around Mary Queen of Scots field trips to different locations in Scotland where she had lived or were connected to her life. And because I have the Historic Scotland membership, we got into free for each one. And it was just really, it was a really enriching way to study history. We've done the same with the Jacobites as well. We went to, when we had it was National Trust membership, we went to different things with National Trust that were linked to the Jacobites. And you could do that with any of these kinds of memberships. And with history, again, you don't need expensive textbooks. You can read the stories, you can do narration. So Charlotte Mason talks about doing narration with your children, and you narrate what you've been reading about. You can create posters or little or units or lap books, or big posters about a time period. You can make timelines up on your wall and illustrate them. You could make a book of centuries. These are all things you could Google to find out how, but you can do them inexpensively, and have this really rich historical education. You can write stories, read about the historical events, and write a story about maybe like a historic fiction story around a character. And so you're taking those historical ideas and you're applying it to English. So there's lots of ways to make that really rich with, again, not spending a fortune. Geography. Geography and world history tie really nicely together, especially in the younger years. A few years ago, I bought a book called Give Your Child the World, and this is basically a book of books. So she goes around the different continents, and she lists books according to age that will teach your child about that culture and that country. And so a few years ago, two friends of mine, we came together with our families, and this was actually over the summer holidays. Each week we picked a different continent, and each family had a book that they either bought or we went to the library, because lots of them were in the library as well. We read the books ourselves. We came together once a week and we cooked food and had a bring and share picnic, buffet lunch with food from that region. And it was absolutely amazing. My kids still talk about this. And it showed them the different cultures. They experienced different food. We looked at where the places were on the map. And so it was a really engaging way to educate children about geography and cultures. Captivating Compass has a ton of resources on geography to help you with teaching any age of child. So keep keep a wee look out there. Have a wee look at Shannon's stuff through Captivating Compass, because geography is her passion, and she has got stuff for every age possible. Science, a great resource for science, which isn't hugely expensive, is Exploring Nature with Children. And we discussed it with Nikki on a previous podcast. Now, what's wonderful about Exploring Nature with Children is once you've bought it, you can reuse this year after year after year and just keep going deeper. So you can literally use it with a preschooler, or you can use it with a high schooler and go really deep. So say it was so you have different weeks. So you'll have like fungi week, you'll have lichen week, you'll have tree week, you'll have spider week. So say it's fungi week. So with a small child, you might just go out looking in the wood and finding mushrooms and maybe just like sketching them and sitting and drawing them. With a high schooler, you can supplement that with a book from the library or an online documentary about fungi and talk about mycelium and how the mycelium network in the woodland is spread out and how trees communicate with one another using the mycelium network in this wonderful world of fungi. So by using it as a framework, you can go really deep with your children using it. It's a fantastic resource. She also has book lists in there, which again ties in with the whole she's very Charlotte Mason inspired. So if you've got Explore Nature with Children, it's actually a curriculum that you can build out to include almost with a little bit of beefing up with other texts for English as well. She does poetry studies, the poem every week that she has that are tied into the nature study that you're doing that week. There's an art study, so she'll point you to a painting for you to go and look at by a great work of art, which you could then use for art appreciation and sketching and just studying art through that lens of nature study. It's a really great resource, and she has an amazing online community with the curriculum on different Facebook and Instagram pages where people really share information to help you. So again, I can't remember how much it is, but it's not a huge amount of money. And as I said, once you bought it, you can reuse it and keep coming back to it year in, year out. Coding is another great skill that a lot of kids want to learn. And there's loads of free resources. We started off literally with books from the library. There's a website called the Hour of Code, which is free online and has loads of activities, and it's split again into grade level. So if your kid knows nothing or is maybe not even a confident reader yet, there's stuff there for them. Foreign language, and into Road to Foreign Languages Duolingo. It's not perfect, but as a place of foundation laying, it's a great place to start. They have like the popular course choices like French and Spanish, and they even have Gaelic and Japanese. My son started doing Gaelic with Duolingo, and he's now going to be doing Gaelic with Agnes at Arise in the autumn. So that is a great place to go, and just as an inroad for your kids into foreign language. Some miscellaneous resources that are worth checking out is firstly Khan Academy. It's a really popular place. It's American, so it uses American curriculum. Especially so for maths is taught quite differently in the US to in the UK. But everything there is free and it's good quality. Also, Easy Peasy Homeschool is a place that lots of home educators absolutely love. So really worth checking out Easy Peasy Homeschool. It's also important to recognize that there are times when you may just need to, or I don't say need, because there are times when you may want to just spend that little bit extra money. It might be an area where you really feel lack confidence in, and maybe especially for high schoolers, they need that extra help, and spending a little bit extra money is going to be necessary. So if that is where you're at in home educating, you see the need of a particular child, that the resources they're going to require for success in this coming year are going to be more expensive. When you're budgeting for this year, budget for that first and then see what you have left over. And shop around for the best deal that you can get. Places like Arise have payment plans for their classes, and other places do as well. But see what there is available, see what's within your budget. And as I said, budgeting for those high cost things first, and then see what you have left over is the way I've done it in the past. When I've had to buy an online course for a child that has a need that I can't fulfill, I've purchased that first, and then I've purchased the other pieces later, and often purchased, for example, reading texts as and when we needed them, not buying everything right now, but buying them as and when we have needed them. Another tip is for planning for your homeschool year. A few years ago, we started using Google Classrooms as part of the whole Google kind of family of softwares that you can access for free. And it's just a great way to keep track of the different things that you're teaching your kids, especially when they're teenagers and they're learning more independently, to be able to keep track of what they need to be doing and when they need to be doing it. If you're on a schedule for exams, for example, scheduling where the activities that you want them to do in a textbook, for example, in Google Classrooms, helps you keep track of them. There's also softwares like Asana for managing tasks and projects, which is designed for businesses, but has loads of potential for home educators, especially if you've got a big family and there's lots of plates spinning wildly, that you can keep track of everything in things like Asana or Google Classrooms. Resources for doing stationery and writing things. We buy in bulk, and I honestly, with stationery, I buy in bulk, and it's something I just buy as and when I need to. So I don't. I will buy fresh supplies now, but I'm sure I'll be buying fresh supplies in a couple of months' time when we come to find a pencil and there's all pencils have disappeared. I think when we move house at some point in the future, this house, I'll suddenly find like 1 billion pencils and rubbers and rulers hidden places because I don't know where they've all went to over the years. For writing, I bulk buy jotters, just like the kind of jotters you'd get in a school. So for example, I do line jotters for just writing it, and I do squared paper jotters for math stuff. I find that's just really useful to use squared paper, because if they're graphing and stuff, squared paper just works really well for maths. And that way, I find if I use folders or bits of paper like arch lever folders, they just get ripped. So those kind of school type jotters, it just keeps stuff together nicely without getting all ripped and lost. I think that's all my tips I have for setting up home education on a tight budget. I hope that is helpful. Other people will have different tips, I am absolutely sure, but I just want you to know that it is completely doable to home educate your kids without having thousands of pounds to spend on classes or tutoring or anything like that. Anybody can home educate their children. It just takes a bit of creativity, and there's pull into those online communities, because we all want to help each other. We all want to help each other make this work, because we want to raise our children up to be God-fearing people who love the Lord and have a good educational experience. Hi, this is Emma from Arise, and I'm here to tell you about and to welcome you to our new podcast at Arise Home Education. This is going to be a place where home educators can be encouraged, where you can be informed of great resources, where we hope to give you practical ideas and tips and advice for every stage of your home ed journey. We're going to be having guests. We're going to have, in the next coming weeks, we'll be featuring our tutors at Arise Home Education. We'll also be having other guests who will come along and speak to you about areas that they are passionate about or where they have a particular expertise. In the next couple of weeks, look out for a podcast where I interview Claire Rogerson. Many of you will be familiar with Claire if you live in the Central Belt. She's a well-known figure in the home ed community. She is absolutely lovely. She is a great encourager, a great networker. She loves bringing home educators together and creating that space for community. She's going to be talking about creative ways to home educate when you have young children. And that's she's just lovely. I think you'll all love Claire. We will also be discussing more spiritual aspects of home education. Coming up, I'm going to be doing a podcast on prayer as a home educator and both the creative ways to facilitate prayer as a home ed mum, because we know that can be really difficult when you're surrounded by young children. And we're also going to be discussing some of the more political and topical points that are affecting home educators and Christians in the UK and in Scotland. So I hope this will be a blessing to you. If you really want to see anything featured in this podcast, please put that in the comments and please subscribe. Thank you. Thanks for listening.